Alrighty, traders. This is Blake Morrow. You are listening to the Morning Edge webinar. Hope everybody's doing well. I actually got to get started. We have a meeting in 45 minutes, so I got to get started here. And remember, Steve is going to be out today for he got his vaccine, he's getting his COVID vaccine. So therefore, hold on really quick. Okay. Therefore, let's go ahead and get started. Everybody having a good day, by the way? Everybody having a nice Monday? I mean, is it even possible to have a nice Monday? And you know what? I thought I had my screen going the whole time, and my screen had been paused. I've been talking this whole time and moving my charts and everything else. You guys haven't seen it. Alexander said after 11 hours this morning, it is, yes. I know. I'm in North America. You're somewhere else. You're probably in Europe somewhere. Where you at, Alex? By the way. Oh, you're in Portugal. Very cool. That's one place that I've never got a chance to go because I married a Greek. It's like every time I go to Europe, I gotta go to Greece, and we gotta spend maximum amount of time in Greece. I can't go anywhere else but Greece.
You're so lucky, man.
It's I kind of enjoy it that way. No, but you know, whenever I get to Greece this next time, which it isn't going to be this summer, obviously, I probably have to divert myself for like a few days and go, stop in, Portugal or Spain or, Italy or something, just to maybe even just stop in London for a couple of days. You know what I mean? Anyway. All right. Stelios, you're so lucky that you live in Europe.
I am lucky. I know it.
Yeah. And I'm sure a lot of Europeans probably say the same thing about the United States. Cause I'll be completely honest, as far as the United States goes. I mean, there's a lot of diversity here. So you can go to so many really cool places and see so many cool things because it's a big landmass. There's a lot to see here too. So, but anyway, I definitely wish I could spend more time in Europe. That's for sure. All right, enough about that. Let's talk about the market. So one of the things about the euro that I want to point out that if you read the update from this morning on ForexAnalytix, if you read the basic update here, it's just that the euro dollars might be forming a lower high, and that's something that we need to pay attention to. I think that the 88% retracement is going to be key, and also I think that we'll be consolidating. So as we can, excuse me really quick. Sorry guys, Monday morning is always tough for me, like waking up. I have a cup of coffee actually in my left hand as I'm trying to do this with my right, with my mouse, and I'm about ready to type, so I need to drink some coffee. Hold on. The problem is my coffee is like not hot anymore. It's like warm, even with a little warmer that I have next to my desk. One of the things that I'm looking at the euro dollar is we are, in my opinion, consolidating between these two levels, which would be the highs right here, and then this trend line support that comes down here. I think we're going to break out at some point this week, but I think you have to be aware that 2170, or actually I'm going to write down 2180 is resistance. Okay. And it's range bound. Support is 120.85. So let me, or actually I'll just say 120.90. Let me just say this. If you are a euro bear, if you're a euro bear, try selling new highs today. If you're a euro bull, try buying below 121. So what I'm trying to say is try to sell up here if you want to be short, and be long down here if you want to be long. And while we're where we're at, I don't think there's much to do. I mean, you can try trading around here. Like if you're like, well, I think the euro is going to bounce going into North American trade, then yeah, buy it right here and, you know, look to get out somewhere up here. I personally, I think trading, you know, being short up at this level and being long down here is the way to go. And while we're stuck, not doing anything like in the middle here, I don't know if there's a whole lot to do. I mean, you guys can try to, you know, trade yourself silly, you know, and make the broker a bunch of money if you want, but I personally, I don't think that that's the way to go. All right, resistance in the cable, support in the cable. Look where we're at. I mean, honestly, look where we're at. We're smack dab in the middle of the range. Right? So, I mean, again, you guys can have fun trying to, you know, get whipped around up here and around here. I personally, I would wait to be a seller up at 140, 150 or a buyer at 140, 20, right? I think that's the way to do it. So actually, 140, 150. You could say these are approximations. I could probably drop that down to 140, just even. I think that's correct. Now it's going to be key support. Aussie dollar. So here's the Aussie. As you guys know, I think we had written down, how many times did we write down like 77 cents as being support last week? I don't know, a lot. So 77 cents support, resistance. I mean, you can see we're already seeing some resistance as we get up towards the 78 cent level. All right, 78.20 and 77 cents. Again, these are, I mean, just look at what's happening in the market. Just look. This is a great example of the market is just consolidating and figuring out what it wants to do next. And it's not up to you. It's not up to me. We are just getting stuck in ranges. And I mean, if you look at, like, if this is the lower end of the range of the Aussie, this is the upper end of the range, and we're smack dab in the middle. I mean, that is what's happening right now. And again, you can have fun trading around this, but I was short Aussie from last week. If you're not in the chat room, so just so you guys know, I closed out my Aussie short. I was short at the 38% retracement on Friday. This is, if you guys don't recall what happened on Friday. So I got short here. And then it grinded higher on Friday till we closed. Then we opened and, you know, we moved down, and then I closed it out this morning. Not for a big gain, but I'm recognizing that we're in ranges. I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to reduce my exposure. I was long pound Aussie or pound New Zealand. If you're in the chat room, you knew this. I was long the pound New Zealand. I bought it on Friday, like right here at 195. And then it grinded lower. And then this morning, it rallied since we opened, and I sold it this morning up here for like 40 or 50 pips. And I just know we're in ranges. So I'm not here to be greedy and trying to, you know, take the highs or lows wherever we're at. But yeah, I think you got to be respectful of these ranges that we're in. So here's the Kiwi. I would venture to guess that the Kiwi is doing this. And maybe to be more succinct, they'll probably end up look like that, if I had to guess. I bet you. that we're going to spend the next couple of days trying to figure this out like this. Resistance 72.50, support 71.20. Dollar Canadian. I am still long some dollar Canadian. Just small, really, really small. Because the pattern in play got invalidated or stopped out or whatever, however you want to look at it, because I moved the stop because that was the smart thing to do or the more conservative thing to do, I think is the way I should have said that. I sold some of it when I went to 122, but I still am long some dollar Canadian. Not a lot, but I still think 122 is resistance, support 120.60. And remember, that was a false breakdown, but still hasn't played out the other way. I think that that while we're below 122, this is still bearish. So just nothing's changed there. I will put that on bearish, and I believe that we have to get above 122. And you guys remember, it's my same analysis from last Friday, I think. Yep. I mean, I had 120.80 because it looked like we have a false breakdown, but still I'm going to write down 120.60 because 120.60 is the 2017 lows. Swissy, 91 cents. Remember, that's the 200-day moving average, or at least it was. It still is. Well, it's 90.80. So we're going to write down 91 cents and 89.85. $0.91 is pretty key, actually. I think if we break that, then we're going to squeeze. Dollar yen. Notice the dollar yen made a brief new high above the 618, but still it's the 618. So, and this is trendline support. So $109.65 and 108.50 now. So this is a rising trend line. 108.50, 109, whoops, 65. Dollar index. Trendline resistance comes in. Now notice this. Here, let's grab, oops, not that. So this previous support, by the time the dollar gets back up here, which would be about 90.50, 90.60, that'll be trendline resistance. So I'm going to put 90.60 as resistance, and support is, if we break through 90, then it's going to be bearish, I think. Dollar Mexican peso. I still have some dollar Mex long, and we held. Now notice we did a little false breakdown, so I wouldn't be surprised if the dollar Mex squeezes back up here, frankly. Back up towards this like 2020 level. I mean, resistance is obviously 2036, I think, or 35. But intraday, I'll say 2020, and then 1978. Can you guys hear my birds? Stellius, can you hear my birds?
Yes, I can. They sound lovely.
It's the I like most of the birds. I don't like the doves. The doves, they're loud, they're annoying, and then they poop everywhere. I mean, they're the massive poopers in the world. They're like massive pooping birds, right? So I have this feeder out front of my window in my office, and I put in some seeds there yesterday, and this I'm trying to attract the lovebirds because we have some wild lovebirds around, but we don't have any cactus near our house, and they tend to live inside of the cactus, so it's a bummer. I've been trying everything, and
it's a whole world that I have no idea about.
Yeah, now I just have a bunch of pooping doves, and it's like I don't want the doves here. I'm trying to get the other birds over. It's like just a battle that I just can't win for some reason. It's just so bummed out. I just want the lovebirds over here. US dollar, Norwegian krona. So support here for the US dollar, Norwegian krona. Remember, we are in this wedge. Now, last week, I got sucked into this thing right here. And of course, it sucked me in and slumped. So that's going to be resistance on the way back up. 835, support this low, 820. 835. And we have to stay bearish while we're below this level. As much as I don't want to say that, we just have to. S&P, whole lot of nothing, 4,200, and I would assume 4110 again is probably going to, since this is such big support and resistance for so long, I'm assuming today it's going to be support, because if you look at this, you're going to have people that are bulls that are like, okay, let it come down to 4,100 and we'll play it like a flag, right? And then you have other people that are like, they're bearish. They're going to be like, okay, if we slip back to 4,100, it's such big support. I'm going to cover up some shorts down there. So I think that 4110, 40, as much as I don't want to write that down. Oops. And then 4,200 is resistance. I'm going to keep us in range, because what we're doing is we're forging lower highs now. Dollar Canadian just slipped pretty good. I think I'm going to add back what I sold last week at 122. I just added it back at 120.92. Just so you guys know, I just picked up a little bit down here. Right here. Okay, where was I at? Let's go do Bitcoin and the Bitcoin and gold and silver, and then I'm gonna let Stelios say anything that he wants to say, and then we have another engagement that we have to be at. So here's silver, 2660. Well, now that trend line's coming up a little bit, but I'll write 2670, and resistance is 2785. So this is the reason why it's not 2660 anymore, which it has been. It's an ascending trend line, right? Last week we talked about 2660, but now it's 2670. It's ascending. Okay. Gold.
Getting closer to the breakout.
It is. This is the 200-day moving average too, and 618. So I guess we need to write 1855. And I know you're looking at this this descending trend line comes up maybe 1865. You know what? I'll write that just in case it does squeeze a little bit. 1865. This is going to be pretty key. Support is at 1800, as you guys know. Nothing changed there. And Bitcoin. I'm going to write 42,000. Okay. I just added to my Euro Aussie longs. As a matter of fact, what I think I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put in a pattern in play here shortly. Actually, I have to see how we close, or I'm going to wait for like probably about an hour. But I'm sorry. Bitcoin, ABCD, previous high. So that means today's low, 42,185, is really critical. So 42,000 is critical support now. Resistance, any move back up to 47,000 should find sellers now. That's the support from here. Okay, so I'm going to write that down. And we are on the verge of actually turning bearish. If we close below 42,000, we're going to go bearish, and we'll probably be targeting, I don't know, maybe 30,000, maybe 28,000, somewhere in that neighborhood. Anyway, all right, guys. Stelios, I'm going to let you take a picture of that. I think that is finished now. And
yep, I got it.
Is there anything that you wanted to cover with the traders? I'm gonna take a little bit of a break.
Yeah, I can take the screen. I got a couple of things to show.
Cool.
We have 15 minutes or so yep. Maximum. So because we have to be elsewhere afterwards. Yep. So
all right,
yeah,
guys.
I got it. So yeah, I've got it. So don't worry about it. Okay. So for me, just my turn to once again look at the big picture. And for people who have been following for a while, this chart of the DXY, for people who might remember, I always said I saw something like that happening. And I was quite happy when I saw, the dollar in, February, March kind of making a move higher, but now it looks weak again. And I have to say that for things to change for me, and by change, I mean for us to see a risk-off move and a change in the general direction that we've seen this melt up over the past months, basically since COVID, the dollar has to weaken. I don't see any scenario. I mean, obviously it can happen, but really, if you look at the probabilities, you have to see dollar weakness for risk assets to continue, and vice versa. If you think there's a top anywhere near in equities, you have to see dollar strength, and that is not happening yet. So, if you look at this move here on DXY, this is a weekly chart, so it's not it's not like the other guys look at. But if you look at that, we found the bottom here around 89 and a bit. Then we retraced 23.6 ish, and now we're coming right back. This is going to be a huge test of these lows. If they go, then equities are going higher, end of story. If not, then I think there might be a chance for us to see some proper two-way action. But at the moment, they're not. And if you look at the S&P, I mean, this drive higher post-COVID, even if you take the COVID drop out of the picture, it's still, a pretty straight line move, a 45-degree angle, which is not justified by economic environment. Yes, we have money supply being increased at ridiculous pace now, but it seems very, very difficult to be sustained, but it is sustained at the moment. And, people are saying, we've had a few down days recently. Well, look at where we are. Really, it's just a blip. So at the moment, nothing has changed for me, unfortunately, because we want to see two-way action. Bitcoin is the talk of the town these days, and Elon Musk doing his usual shenanigans and taking a position, then
this is
tweeting.
how.
Yeah.
Stelio, this is how havens for storing your money work. Like, right?
Yeah, one person can take
one
off.
person tweets.
Yeah.
And suddenly the market implodes. Yes, that is the definition of store of value. Last time I checked.
That's the thing. If you have an asset which has a certain use, then if one person, obviously they can have an effect on it. But if one person says something, it shouldn't really be. It shouldn't move the market that much. Anyway, it is what it is. But what I was going to show. Welcome back, by the way, Steve. I was gonna say, look how technically even Bitcoin trades. So it did this drop and it stopped. We had drawn this support zone. We talked about it with Stephen Blake for days now or weeks maybe. And 42 to 43.
Be careful though, because we slice through that. Then then the next downside target is some distance away.
Yeah, 30,000 somewhere around here. But yeah, so that's
the next downside target I have, Stelio, is actually just below 30,000. Yeah, and for those that have been monitoring how these assets work.
Yeah,
I mean, it can easily happen, right?
Yeah. And think about it also, people were saying this morning, oh, the Bitcoin is dropping because Elon Musk is selling, Tesla owned, 1.5 billion of Bitcoins. Well, he said he hasn't sold any. So, it wasn't because of a whale who's selling. So, you have to be careful with these things. I don't trade them. But if you do, just be very careful.
I know they're not regulated, but
yeah,
I mean, there have to be several laws that he's breaking, but by what he's doing, right?
It's a long conversation. I'm sure there are, but what can we do?
Yeah. But if you're called Elon Musk, nobody cares. If you're
the second richest person in the world,
if you're some small time dude that is boosting the price of X asset via Y chat room that 500 people read, it's very likely you're going to end up in jail.
Yeah. Gold, I'm looking at, I said before, we're very close to some kind of a breakout. I'm long silver as well. I'm long miners. This was a fantastic test. I got long these on the breakout here. I kept them over the retest, and now looks like they're going well. Seems relatively impulsive, so I'm sticking with that. Currencies. Sterling has been relatively.
Speaking of which, GDXJ has now also confirmed the move because it was lagging somewhat, if you remember.
Yes, I'm long that too. Yes, you are right. Sterling has been doing pretty well recently, and I still, I drew this a few months ago, and I really think it wants to get to the 83, 84 level, and then we're going to see where we are in terms of everything. But I think there's one last leg to the downside coming, and cable is also pretty strong. This massive trend line we've been showing this on webinars for a while was well and truly broken. We've come to some kind of resistance zone, and look, it's trying a couple of times. Let's see, but really, I don't have a position in this at the moment. But this is also. This will be driven also by the dollar and the risk assets. So one way or another, if the dollar breaks, like we showed before, if the dollar breaks these lows, then you can probably be sure that cable is going to break above that resistance, and then there's more cleaner on the upside. Otherwise, unfortunately, there's not that much that I have to say. We're still in a state of limbo because, like I said before. It's a straight line, a melt up in equities, and yes, a couple of days of a blip, but really it's nothing. So I don't know if you...
Technically speaking, you zoom out a little bit, you don't even see it.
Yeah, exactly. So for me, people get excited with a couple of days of downside.
That also shows you how the subjective standards have changed, because there's, you get like no down days for months and months and months. Then you get a couple of down days and you start seeing titles like, equities are getting destroyed. And you're like, where is that?
We're back to last week's levels, basically.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I agree. So that's all I had to I had to mention we have probably a few more minutes. I don't know if you wanna mention something, Steve, or you have anything to say. But
yeah, we can go over questions, of course, as
yeah.
well, which
Okay. Let me stop my
there are
screen.
always some of them. Let me grab the screen then.
We have a question about natural gas.
There we go. Let me open the chat box as well. There we go.
How are you feeling, by the way? Everything good? The arm
Everything
is a little sore. Oh, it's going to be a little sore later.
I mean, it is like almost unnoticeably sore.
Yeah.
You know, if I didn't know I had the vaccine, I might have not even noticed.
Yeah.
Just to
Good.
give you an idea. If I grow an extra limb or something, I'm gonna let you know. So natural gas going vertical today. Not a big surprise given the fact that this here was a very, very clearly consolidation type of move, right? If you look, even the RSI was showing us the same thing, right? Just a consolidation. So we found that double bottom there. We broke through the double bottom. We reached the target. We punched through the target. We then spent a period of several days that we consolidated. And, you know, when a market that clearly has, bullish characteristics fails to move lower after, finding some type of resistance, then inevitably the path of least resistance should remain higher. So next upside target, these highs over there, let's say 325, then we have the 339, and then we're headed to new highs, right? Now, it's good to put always things in perspective, and it's a nice reminder that corrective moves can be very, very complex. We had this channel that guided us lower as we corrected the prior gains. We broke through it. We then started depreciating. We never broke down through the channel. But as you see, there is likely a larger corrective formation that was in play all this time here, which is very possibly this triangle, right? So I remain bullish natural gas. Watch this trend line resistance, as an area that we might get some reaction, but we break through this. I think we're on our way to 375, and more might be coming. So keep that in mind. Don't try to fade strength, in my opinion, in anything that has intrinsic value. We've been saying this for months, and of course, my thesis hasn't changed, and good thing it hasn't changed, because because the market doesn't seem to want to change, and for good reason. I mean, there is a good fundamental reason why all these assets are gaining in value almost on a daily basis, many of them, right? I think natural gas should be trading to new multi-year lows sooner rather than later. The same thing that applies to all the other assets we've been looking at. We have another 5 minutes, so why don't you go ahead and give me questions, guys, gals, whatever you want us to cover. I'll be more than glad to go.
I have a question. What is the meaning of life? I'm kidding.
Meaning of life, yeah. How much time do you have? Yeah, those are questions more meant for a poet, and that's one thing I ain't.
Have a look. We don't have any questions. Have a look at the bond if you can, please.
Absolutely.
Again, it's trying to break down again. We talked about it on FA.C.E.
Backtested this
exactly.
broken. Yeah, I mean, keep looking lower. I see no reason why we would want to fade this weakness. There is still more room for this big channel trend line support. We still have, currently passing from like 166.70. So there is more room to the downside before we find any substantial support. Okay. So I do think it remains bearish.
Great.
Would you look at
Yeah, let's have a look
ECFZ?
at that, and then we might as well call it a day because we need 4 or 5 minutes to for our next meeting. So have a look at that. ECFZ 2021.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's Bitcoin, isn't it? No, it's not.
Okay, whatever this is the place you should be bailing out, right? I mean, clearly this is the place you should be bailing out, because not only it has been in a sustained vicious uptrend, which is fine, but once you start getting the parabolic characteristics of what you're seeing here, look at how nicely this was channeled, right? And it was still an amazingly strong uptrend. And then you get an amazingly strong uptrend that goes parabolic. So in my opinion, we've entered the very, very last stage, which is by definition unsustainable. So at some point, sooner rather than later, we find a high and we get ourselves a much, much deeper and well-needed corrective move lower. So, if you've been riding this, good for you, excellent, great. But I don't think it has much more to go before it gets some kind of equally strong move to the opposite direction.
Great. Okay, I mean,
it's carbon emissions. Okay,
yeah,
got
carbon
it.
emissions. Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Look at the daily RSI, near 90. Yeah. This thing is probably unsustainable. Of course, it's in a strong uptrend, so it should continue at some point. But there is absolutely no risk reward to buy it before it has a deep corrective move lower. Chasing here this kind of momentum is pure FOMO. I mean, it's not investing; it's gambling, right? It's like playing the game of musical chairs, hoping that you're going to get your chair before the music stops. And that's not my type of idea of investing. Hey guys, you think if real rates go less negative, gold will go down? Yes, if real rates go less negative, gold has a decent chance of going down. What doesn't have a decent chance of happening is real rates going less negative. So, although I agree with the premise, Dimitri, I really don't see how real rates can go less negative, under the current environment. So I wouldn't be that worried about that. I think there's a huge chance that it'll go more negative. Or, in my opinion, and I'm going to close with this, there is a misconception of how negative real rates are at the moment because of, toying around with inflation. At some point, if this trend of exploding inflation goes unchecked, which I find a very likely scenario, I think that besides the obvious fact that inflation is going to be increasing and real rates are going to be going more negative, there's going to be, since there's going to be a lot of focus on inflation, there's also going to be a realization that inflation isn't even what it's supposed to be, how much it's supposed to be. So if that happens, then we're going to have another event, which is the market having to price in how negative real rates have already been, because the market thinks they're less negative than they actually are. So in my opinion, the risks are still tilted in the direction that the market, the real rates are going to get more negative, or the market is going to realize that real rates are more negative, or a combination of the two. So I wouldn't take the other side of that trade, bottom line. Okay, guys, thank you very much. Sorry for keeping it a little bit shorter today. We'll have all the time in the world tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.